Good evening, brothers and sisters. I hope everybody is well out there. I promised yesterday I was going to start a study series, and today we begin it. And the most important thing as we move through this study series is to grasp the foundational truth that each and every one of us have been indoctrinated into this cult. You'll see that today. We're going to go through the base foundation of the philosophical nature of Marxism. Now, it has many branches off of it, but nonetheless, today we're going to speak about the law of opposites, the law of negation, and the law of transformation in the sense of how it's used philosophically to shift society away from Christian values and capitalist in countries. Okay, so first we have to understand who Karl Marx was as a man. A deeply disgusting slob of a man. Couldn't take care of his children. We'll see that 3 of his children died due to poverty conditions. Man never worked a day in his life. Was run out of all kind of countries. Lived in the worst section of London in the poorest of conditions, and was what would be called a cluster B personality, a malignant narcissist. In the Christian worldview, we would call this a reprobate mind, just an outright hatred for all things beautiful. So, with that, we're going to start this expose off, and it's probably going to be a 4 or 5 part series. But what we're going to do is focus in on the foundation of it, and learn to see the Ouroboros for what it is, and never jump into that dialectical framework. And we'll see today. We'll see in the symbology that UN uses what I'm talking about, this dialectical framework, which is the Ouroboros, creating anew all the time in this prima material, which matter precedes everything in this framework of mind. Okay, so with that said, let me get the study going. I'm going to read from the congressional record first, get a base foundation of why this is important, how long it's been going on, and we're going to eventually get to Betty Dowd's testimony and the infiltration of all institutions of religion in the Western society through preachers and things of that nature. She gave complete testimony. She put over 1,500 preachers in the pews in the 1930s to introduce the social gospel. All these things are connected. People don't see them for what they is. This is why the word has been watered down in so many ways and in so many different branches. So with that, I'll tell each and every one of you hello later. Let's begin our journey. All right, first we're going to read from the congressional record. This was read into the congressional record on January 10th, 1963. This is from the book, The Naked Communist by Cleon Skousen. And I'm just going to focus on a couple of these today. So number 15, capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. Use technical decisions of the courts to weaken basic American institutions by claiming that activities violate civil rights. Get control of the schools, use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda, soften the curriculum, get control of teachers' associations, put the party line in textbooks, gain control of all student newspapers, use student riots to foment public protest against programs or organizations which are under communist attack. Keep these in your mind as we move forward. So the teachers' unions were already completely captured by the 1960s. The people in Congress at that time knew something was wrong. They didn't know how to go about doing it. And then what Marxism does is plays on the empathy of normal human beings. Okay, so you and I, when we meet a new human, we don't think that that human is completely insufferable and capable of committing the worst atrocities in mankind. That's just not how we look at society. That's not our worldview. However, as we move, as the pendulum continues to swing back and the light reveals the darkness within these people's sad souls, you're going to continue to see them for what they are. And COVID was a great revealer too, because what it did was it broke entire families apart, because the captured ideologues in the families became stout branch COVIDians. Remember, in this framework, material is before the mind. We'll get into that. Dialectical materialism. We have the contradictions, thesis, antithesis, and what they want to bring about is the change, the synthesis, right? So within this framework is how they work, and they want to control both sides of the narrative. Why is the mainstream media so upset right now? Because we have broke the narrative. They can't control the narrative anymore. So let me tell you something. From the Marxist point of view, when they can't control the narrative, they get violent. Dialectical materialism, the Marxist theory adopted as the official philosophy of the Soviet communists, Mao's Red Guard, so forth and so on. That political and historical events result from the conflict of social forces and are interpretable as a series of contradictions and their solutions. The conflict is believed to always be caused by material needs. These are materialists at heart. Materialism, matter is primary in Marxism. Consciousness is secondary. Therefore, there is no soul and no God. With no God, there is no morality, only man becoming. Okay? Destruction of all known principles of man, destroyed in search of the utopian dream world. My kingdom is not of this world. So I want to speak on this viewpoint real quickly, because one of the major fallacies of Marxism and all the different branches of it, neo-Marxism, postmodernism is, postmodernism kind of gets into a nihilistic viewpoint. They're Marxists that didn't finish the job, so they just give up on life. That's postmodernists in a nutshell. However, what the problem is that these people don't live in reality with us. They don't interact with mankind enough to realize that man is fallen. That's why the Bible calls all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. That man is in a constant state of bettering himself, but knows he's going to make mistakes. And so the Christian worldview, among many others, is that we're going to self-reflect, and we're going to alter our worldview to fit the moral nature of man in conjunction or in position with his neighbor, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto yourself, the golden rule, right? So in the Marxist worldview, the golden rule doesn't exist, and that there is no morality. The only just cause is to push the revolution forward. And while the revolution's going forward, nothing's out of the question. Murder, rape, pillage, plunder. This is an amoral view. However, it is religious in nature, and that's the beauty of it, is because, as we'll see right here, they hold this fundamental belief in their mind. Then they have these ideas, and guess what they go into reality and do? They express it. So through ignorance, wanton disregard of the fundamental rules of nature, whichever one you want to say it is, they bring about the actual laws of the world, which is seed time and harvest. What is sown shall be reaped. The immaterial always becomes the material. God said, let there be light. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. This is where the Marxist is. These are where these people are. So let's get into the Marxian philosophy and the logical fallacies within it. I hope many of you can see them before I pronounce them. Materialists define. Relating to the theory, you'll see this over and over again. We are teaching theories, unprovable hypotheses as facts to our children. We'll see this. We'll see as we move forward in this study here that each and every one of us have been indoctrinated in this contradictory dialectical thinking process. It's going to blow your mind when I bring it to you, because it's going to blow your mind, because I promise you. Nothing exists except matter and its movements and modifications. This is an atheistic, materialistic philosophy. So when I say that most atheists have a religious worldview, they just don't realize it. All atheists have a religion. So religiaire, that means the binding of the mind. They have an inner held conviction that causes them to think and act. That's it. That's all religion really is. Okay. Now, either it's going to be based on sound principles, or it's going to be illogical and unreasonable, like Marxism is. Excuse me, folks. So in this Marxian philosophy, material precedes all life, and life itself is an accumulation of accidents which evolve all the way in its complexity to man's ability to be consciously aware. This awareness, according to Marxian theologians, is accidental, but since we have it, man can create utopia only through dialectical thinking and the merging of opposites into the great leap forward / transformation. Karl Marx once explained that his object in life is to dethrone God and destroy capitalism. At this time, we are sounding a little alchemical in our speech. But the fallacy here in this worldview is simple. The Christian worldview of all being sinners who fall short of the glory is equivocally true, demonstrably true, and requires the individual to accept responsibilities for his failures, self-inspection, and a correction in thought and action moving forward. This isn't true for the materialist. Socioeconomic class struggle is the material influence upon society. Therefore, everything that is wrong in the individual's life can be traced to an outward influence. Thus, we have the creation of the victim mentality. We'll get into this later. We'll just delve off into that. So from the Marxian point of view, 2 + 2 can equal 5, because there's no fundamental laws that operate in this reality, right? We'll see the contradictions in Karl Marx's own logic here in a little while. And so we have Karl Marx, the man, the drunkard, the fat slob who never worked a day in his life, never amounted to anything, somehow is making such an impact in our lives today. And the reason that is so is because the youth genuinely have a revolutionary spirit, because they have no experience in life. Okay. So this philosopher king lived in absolute squalor in London after being run out of multiple countries while trying to start his revolution. He never worked a day in his life, couldn't balance a checkbook, drank and smoked excessively. 3 of his children died due to living conditions, and this is considered a bastion of excellence by most academics in this postmodern world. I don't think so. I don't think so. So we're going to look at the Ouroboros on the right, and we're going to see Hegel's dialectic cosmogony and the dialectical spiral through history. So we'll start at the bottom. We go through pre-modern times. We go through the Reformation, early faith, everything being run through the church. We contradict that. We come into postmodern, right, into Marx material, and then we get to another zeitgeist, which is cultural, Hegel, ideal, and we come up out of that into the postmodern era, and now we have stakeholder capitalism, material. Where are we going next? United Nations sustainability goals. We'll see that soon. But the new ideal, which is the reasoning for where we are, is now wokeism, right? Can't get woke enough. And so now we have stakeholder capitalism, and the last goal is going to be the one world order through communist / fascist take over. And look, it's neo-communism now. It's fascism plus communism all together. So I don't separate the two wings of the same bird, because they all use this identity politics and must subject themselves to another man as the higher power. Okay. So this operates on three laws: the law of opposites, the law of negation, and the law of transformation. It is therefore from the history of nature and human society that the laws of dialectics are abstracted. They're abstracted, and they must end in the concrete, right? In the actionable. For they are nothing but the most general. Now this is funny here, because remember, matter precedes all thought. But where does he start? In the abstract. And see, this is the crazy thing. This is the crazy thing about the whole process, because people can read these words over and over again. And Karl Marx uses the metaphysician Hegel's works. Now, I don't agree with Hegel or his metaphysics. However, Hegel was completely on the opposite side of the dialectical spectrum. He was more an alchemist, but he still had the same utopian dreams of man. He didn't live in the real world, interacting with real people. And what else you'll find about Karl Marx was he was a recluse. He spent all of his time with books and things of that nature. Like I said, cluster B personality, parasitic, narcissistic sociopath. And that was Karl Marx in a nutshell. However, the logical fallacies in all of his work cannot be denied if you have a proper working perspective of reality, right? For they are nothing but the most general laws of these two aspects of historical development, as well as the thought itself. And indeed, they can be reduced in the main to three: the law of the transformation of quantity into quality and vice versa, the law of the interpenetration of opposites, the law of the negation of the negation. So we're going to speak real quick about the Ouroboros. Remember that the Ouroboros, we just represented it with the spiral. Here on the bottom right, we have the 17 goals of the UN Agenda 2030. And these are unrealistic goals: no poverty, zero hunger, good health, quality education, clean water and sanitation. So what we're going to do in order to have no poverty and zero hunger, you would have to take all the ability of man to make choices away from him, right? It doesn't matter if look within our own families, with how many brothers and sisters you have, or cousins and things of that nature. In a household, you don't have equality amongst your own kin, okay? Because nobody can make the choices for the individual but the individual themselves. But somehow these people have it in their mind that they're going to eradicate all of man's woes. Well, the only way they're going to do that is eradicate mankind. It shows you the fallacy in their original assumption, and in that the only way that communism can be completed is to have better communism. It's always the same, though. So it's always initiated by those in the inner circle. We can call them they, we can call them globalists, we can call them whatever. It is my opinion that these people are the strategic leaders. I don't even think they're believers in Marxism. Okay, they just want the power and the control. They manipulate the cult dynamics and doctrines for control and power, influencing members and identities and actions. And so we move from there into the inner school. And this is going to be your adept members versed in doctrine. They're going to shape the outer school towards collective cult identity, ethos, commitment, and activism. So in recent memory, the inner school would be like this Catherine Gray chick from Harvard, the other one from Penn, and the other one from MIT. These are true inner school adept members who are actually ideologically captured through the Marxist, cultural Marxist identity politics. So these people are in their positions because they're going to mold the outer school. If we go back to the 45 goals of the communists, you'll notice that we're radicalizing the youth through college education and high school education and K through 12 education. This is the same pattern that played out in Mao's China with the Red Guard, with the destruction of the four olds. So the outer school is the initiates. They're minimally doctrine aware. If you've ever seen these children or these college students ask, what's the First Amendment of the United States, or what's 4 times 20, or what's 90 cents plus 10 cents, or how many dimes are in a dollar, and they can't answer these questions, or how many states in the United States are there, they can't answer these questions. Well, that's because that's the goal of another Marxist called Paulo Freire, who is another one of their leaders from the Marxist school of thought, in that illiteracy is the only way that we can defeat the bourgeoisie and bring about the radical change through the proletariat. So what they had to do was make them illiterate in reading, writing, and arithmetic, but make them literate in political activism. So the only thing these people know, their meaning and purpose in life, is this cult identity. This is their religion. It's the only thing that matters to these people. They have been radicalized. So when you see this Ouroboros laid on the ground, like with the Palestinians and Israel, don't pick it up. We must stand outside the framework with logic and reason, and bust holes through all of the false reasoning behind it. Okay, for instance, I don't like Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't care about the goals of Israel. Doesn't bother me. I got problems with Jewish NGOs pushing the Kalergi plan and replacement theory. But guess what I also have a problem with? I got a big problem with the leaders of the PLO and Hamas, who are all Marxist-Leninists, right? And, all wars are bankers' wars, right? So none of this stuff makes sense, that one of the safest countries in the world with the iron defense and their whole border completely guarded at all time, somehow let paragliders in, one of the slowest forms of transportation in the world, raid them. Now, I never remember that inside this particular ideology, the people that are underneath in the governments are cannon fodder, and this includes Israelis. I want people to understand that the Jews in Israel are cannon fodder to the people above them. Okay, so when people make blanket statements about a group of people, just understand we're all expendable in this particular march towards this revolution. Everybody on the bottom is expendable, just assets. Okay, expendable assets. Remember, these are amoral people. Okay, so don't pick it up. Here we go. We're going to start here. Each and every one of you in school were indoctrinated into the Marxian theology. You were unaware of it. Your parents were unaware of it. Most of your parents today have no clue that you were indoctrinated into this dialectical contradictory thinking, but you were. And so we'll start the story off like this. In the beginning, there was nothing. Nothing made a big explosion, created matter. Matter forever expanded throughout the universe and got more complex over billions of years, until finally man stood upright and was conscious. Sound familiar? Does it sound familiar? Well, this is dialectic materialism. It's based on theories. And it's based, of course, it goes further back than Marx, but Marx just repopularized it. Make no mistake about that. Marx just went back and brought things forward. So we'll call it Marxian theology. But this is the truth. If you are not aware at this time, by the end of the study, you will be. Every one of you have been introduced to contradictory dialectical thinking and Marxian philosophy of nature. Marx and Engels supposed that life spawned spontaneously from albumin substance and was bound to increase in complexity. Remember, we are still evolving to the classless society and the stateless society. The precise relationship between Hegel's dialectics and dialectical materialism, Marxist dialectics, is a controversial issue. However, Marx and Engels famously presented the collaborative oeuvre as an reversal or inversion of Hegel's dialectic. Remember, I told you that Hegel was a metaphysician. They saw history not as the self-realization of ideas, but as driven by material and socio-economic factors, so that consciousness is determined by socio-economic existence. I'm going to read that. They saw history not as the self-realization of ideas, but as driven by material and socio-economic factors, so that consciousness is determined by socio-economic existence. There's your identity politics. Marxian origin of life explained. What is the origin of life? Materialist view. Everything in existence is a combination of unity or opposites. Think dualism, hot, cold, positive, negative, courage, cowardness, ad infinitum. One attracts, one repulses. From the Marxist view, without one, neither exist. However, we know we can separate protons and neutrons. You can have love in your heart without hate. The conclusion of Marx is that everything in existence holds two mutually incompatible and exclusive, here's the fallacy, but nevertheless essential, indispensable parts or aspects. Can you locate the fallacy? This autodynamic functionality is the foundational concept of Charles Hegel. Contradiction in nature is the root of all motion and all life. Moving forward, if you replace the word dialectical with conflict, you will grasp the ideology faster. Conflict, struggling with difficulties, a striving to oppose or overcome. This is the I wills from Lucifer, by the way. Instead of becoming one, they have multiplied their division. So we'll go to the law of negation. The law of negation is a concrete form of the law of the unity of opposites. That is the law of the struggle of opposites and the resolution of their contradiction. Engels also saw in this the essence of the law of the negation. He wrote, the true, natural, historical, and dialectical negation is formally the moving source of all development, the division into opposites, their struggle and resolution, and what is more, on the basis of experience gained, the original point is achieved again, partly in history, fully in thought, but at a higher stage. The theory supposes that you cannot have life without death, and that upon negation, death, life spontaneously erupts forth. However, this is another fallacy, and that we can have children, create life, and at multiple stages in our lives, and live to see them create life. Remember, it's a death cult. Just keep that in the back of your head. They hate creation. So we're at the law of transformation. Marx's ontological intuition is that everything is transformation, what he would call Wunderling. While still a student, he wrote to his father, the triangle allows the mathematician to construct and to demonstrate, yet it remains a mere idea in space and doesn't develop any further. One must put it next to other things, and then it takes on other positions. And when this difference is added to what is already there, it acquires different relations and truths. By contrast, in the concrete expression of a living concept world, as in law, the state, nature, and all of philosophy, the object must be studied in its development. Arbitrary divisions may not be brought in, and the reason of the thing itself must be disclosed as something imbued with contradictions and must find in itself its unity. So we'll see here that this transformative process to Marx had more to do with the socioeconomic conditions. Now, mind you, Marx never worked a day in his life. Okay, couldn't balance a checkbook, had inheritances given to him, but somehow hated the bourgeoisie so much, and he hated religion so much that his entire world goal was to dethrone God and destroy capitalism. However, what's funny is it was his capitalist dad and Engels' capitalist dad who kept him from starving in the streets to take care of Karl Marx and his family. What's even more of an amazement is that this fat slob wanted a communist society, whereas the state controlled all aspects. And then once that was enacted, there were no more fat slobs. I mean, look at Lysenkoism. Look at the Chinese, right? They don't have a fat society because everybody must work and everybody's rationed out. So it's kind of funny when you put these things together, that even Karl Marx couldn't see in the fascist states that he was living in at that time that he wasn't just going to be able to sit on his fat butt in a library somewhere, that he was going to have to produce for this perfect society, however imperfect he was. And it's a certain bit of madness that these people hold because they're being taught these contradictory dialectical thinking, that they're able to hold two conflicting ideas in their mind at the same time. And what happens with this, when you do this over a long period of time, you've actually driven yourself to insanity. And that's where Karl Marx was. If you read, who is that? Who's Joey M? Yeah, I can get time for that. Anyway, before I get sidetracked, got sidetracked there. Stop me. That's why I was supposed to close that. All right, let me close it. All right, let me get back on track. Okay. So, the only people, well, let me read again. I got sidetracked. Excuse me, folks. Excuse me. Classless society in Marxism. The ultimate condition of social organization expected to occur when you always hear this word. We haven't done true communism is achieved yet. According to Karl Marx, the primary function of the state is to repress the lower classes of society in the interest of the ruling class. However, after the class struggle has resulted in the victory of the proletariat and the establishment of a socialist society, there will be no further need for such a repressive institution. With the disappearance of classes, the state is just expected to wither away. Okay, so let's get to foundational truths here. It doesn't matter what society is run by men. Guess what is going to happen to it? Its institutions over the long haul. Every one of them, doesn't matter which one, it's going to happen. There's always going to be men somewhere that get together under some idea that they are supposed to rule over somewhere else. That's it. Never going to stop. Tribalism has never stopped in the history of man. No one has ever lived in complete peace. There's never been anywhere without a sexual deviant. There's never been anywhere where there was zero crime and zero mental illness. Nowhere. And what do I mean by mental illness? Some people are born into this world with certain dispositions that just can't get right. Now, that's not for me to espouse on, but that's something above Brandon. However, there is no utopia. Can't be. Indeed can't be. Why not? Because you have flesh and blood human beings here. That's why. And you have to look no further than man to find all the atrocities on earth being committed against each other. Now, can you lower those atrocities? Yes. If we weren't constantly pushing this dialectical Marxism into the soft matter of these children, you'd probably lower the criminal rates by 40, 50%. If you actually had the rule of law going in this country, your inner cities right now wouldn't be no-go zones. I mean, that's just common sense. If there's no penalties for the criminals run wild. Right now, we have radical youth burn. Well, during the Summer of Love, the mostly peaceful protests, they burnt down 10 to 15 cities in this country, and nobody went to jail. That's because that's the goal. All right, let's continue on. Evolution is transformation. Here you go again. A change in the genetic makeup of a population over time. We have space-time continuum on the Discovery Channel, where everything's circling through space, ever expanding and things of that nature. These are simply theories, but they follow the Marxian theology that matter sprung into existence from nothing, created chaos, and from that chaos sprang life. It ever evolved in complexity through the laws of unity, negation, and transformation. The origin of all motion in life is through this ever-expanding matter, and everything in existence is in a constant state of motion due to it. For the fallacy for that is this. It's very simple. For there to be a law, there must be an order. For there to be an order, there must be organization. And finally, for there to be organization, there must be an organizer. Each and every individual in Western culture has been indoctrinated into this religious cult of contradictory dialectical thinking. As Orwell put it, in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. It is hard to accept this truth that we've all been hoodwinked into this process of believing these illogical and unreasonable theories pushed throughout our public school system our entire lives. But this is the truth. You can go decide to fact check me on Marx, Engels, and Paulo Freire and everything else. Go read the literature. That's all I'm going to tell you. And go look up all this crap that's pushed as fact in our schools when it's just theories. And it's a damn shame, because what they've done is kill God and kill the concept that we're moral beings with higher states of consciousness. Okay? Very, very shameful. The reason for this is one of the big leaders, cultural leaders, is Paulo Freire, the Brazilian. He's been immortalized in the United States of America. Freire's idea is that literacy means political literacy, as understood in the Marxist way. Formal education is bourgeoisie, and critical education is a revolutionary praxis that can transform the oppressive state of the world. Paulo Freire occupies a hallowed position among the founders of critical pedagogy. The educational movement, guided by both passion and principle to help students develop a consciousness of freedom, recognize their authoritarian tendencies, connect knowledge to power and agency, and learn to read both the word and the world as part of a broader struggle for justice and democracy. The issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution. If you remember that, you'll never pick up the Ouroboros. Paulo played a crucial role in developing a highly successful literacy campaign in Brazil before he was jailed by the military. So forth, so on. What he pretty much did was work within the framework of oppressed versus oppressor for all children. We'll see this in fruition today. This is actually a year ago, but today they're talking about helping kids learn about media literacy and false information. This was from Amazon, Jeff Bezos. We'll see, I think it's CNN or somebody else is going to schools right now to help children learn how to read media. And what are they really doing? They are trying to help children read media the way Freire taught it, not from a formal education standpoint to be able to see the contradictory statements, but to see it from a political literacy standpoint. That is what is going on in your children's schools. This is what's going on with the cultural Marxism, which is the, we'll talk about this in just a second, which is the intersectionality of Marxism. That's going to be lesson number 2, cultural Marxism, and how it's destroyed our culture. Matter of fact, we're there. So this is the introduction to intersectionality / oppressor scoring system. I actually could have put another box under here. We could put a box at the bottom. You can put a box at the further bottom and say Christian white men or Christians, period, in this intersectionality scoreboard. Because Christian white men or white men, period, are the lowest on this tier of intersectionality. Now, white women are above it. Then you have disabled people. Then you have black men. Remember, men are always at the lowest form, right? And a black man can never go lower than the white woman or the white man, but he can be the lowest of below a black woman. So it goes white man, Christian, white man, white woman, disabled, black man, black woman. Then we get into the LGB, right? And so each stack up is what we call the intersectionality, the oppressed versus oppressor. Okay, so white men oppress white women, they oppress disabled people, they oppress black men, they oppress black women, and they oppress LGB. You see, I didn't put the TQIP plus on this second tier, and there's a reason, because even lesbian, gays, and bisexual are below the trans, the queers, the intersectionals, and whatever the heck all the rest of it means, the pedophiles and everything else. And in order, we'll give a hypothetical in this. So when a white woman, or let's just say when a woman transes to a man on top of the card, right? Remember, she is a man now. When a man transes to a woman, guess who's higher on the scorecard? Can y'all guess? Well, the trans woman is. And this is the fallacy. This is the fallacy between this intersectionality play card. Now, I'm sure there's more caveats to this, but the point is showing you intersectionality and how it works according to the dialectical framework. Okay, this is why these people work so closely in it, and you'll see that that Jews in this country are just aghast that the outer school has turned against them, but they've got a intersectionality scorecard. Who's the oppressed or who's the oppressor? And from that scorecard, they know who the enemy is. Okay. And now, whether it's right or whether it's by logic and reason, it doesn't matter. This is the cultural identity politics that they're playing with. And so as we move into the next study, we're going to get into the framework of why this works so well within people's worldviews. And it does. People love the dialectical process. They love it. They love holding two conflicting ideas in their head at one time. I don't understand it, but they do. But yet their true religious practice is materialism and idealism, which is never going to happen either, by the way. But we'll get into those ideas as we move into cultural Marxism. So we'll go to the last slide. Next study, we'll break cultural Marxism down and the red guard of America being built around us. For us, with the Christian worldview, which is continual improvement to further our understanding through knowledge, while admitting that we make mistakes and reflecting on those mistakes is imperative to building a strong moral character, we shall see in the next study how Marxism uses amorality to destroy the bedrock of our society. Without demoralization, you cannot have destabilization. I want us to say that again, okay? We'll go back to Yuri Bezmenov, demoralization, destabilization, crisis, normalization, right? You cannot destabilize a country before demoralizing it. You can't do it. Can't have it. Now, what we do is we take heed, brethren, lest there be any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God. I'm the God of the living, not the God of the dead. Same yesterday, today, and for tomorrow. We don't play within this framework. And remember what I told y'all yesterday. We're in the realm of go fuck yourself. That's it. I'm not playing games with idiots anymore. I will tell them to go screw themselves. I'm sorry I don't have time. And I hate that I have to say that, but it's time for a little bit of challenging people. And you know, if you want to live in your clown cuckoo land in your world of delusions, and you think you're a monkey fish frog, by all means, but don't push it on me and my children or other people's unsuspecting children. The reason for these studies as we move forward is to show people that every single person that is probably under 80 years old in this country has been introduced to the contradictory dialectical thinking process and dialectical materialism. That is the basis of this first study. You have been taught evolution. You have been taught an ever-expanding universe through Big Bang Theory. And you're taught that there's billions and billions, Carl Sagan galaxies out there and things of that nature, right? All that crap that goes with it. However, it's just all theoretical. Okay. However, what we can do to defeat this is stand on logic and reason in the objective world, calling them for their logical fallacies. And this is why I tell people all the time, my subjective beliefs will never be forced upon someone else. However, I still have an objective stance because you have to. Facts and evidence matter. Data points matter, right? You can't speak in vague generalities and apply it to everyone everywhere because it's wrong. It's intellectually wrong and it's morally wrong. When man departs from God, from purpose, and from meaning, he is a lost soul at sea. And his whole life, I want to get this point home. It doesn't matter which side of the spectrum that you're on. Your whole life becomes a revolution against God for man. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to break that down again. It doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you think you're on. Your whole goal in life is a revolution against God to raise man. And this fosters and terrorizes the rest of humanity. So with that, I'll leave this lesson as it is. Well, we ended up 50 minutes. But it should break a few barriers for people who cannot see that our entire lives we have been indoctrinated into a cult that hates humanity. And I'll leave with this. I want y'all to read this. After the Bolsheviks took power in Russia and founded the Soviet Union, those Marxist leaders quickly created the League of Militant Atheists, also known as the Society of the Godless. Listen, I want to say this now. There's not many atheists that I respect, okay? Because most atheists are like the waves and the winds of the sea. They have no moral foundation on which they stand on, okay? They don't have principle for which they will not move. They'll wear the mask, they'll take the vaccine, and cry foul, okay? And then blame it on everybody else. And look, it's not talking bad about anybody out there. Just saying, in general. Now, there are some atheists that have pretty good viewpoints. I can't agree with everything they do. But remember that Karl Marx's two goals, dethrone God, destroy capitalism, the bourgeoisie. Now, listen, folks, do I think we have free market capitalism as Adam Smith wrote in his book? No. What we have is stakeholder capitalism today. This is not free market capitalism. As a matter of fact, it's fascism. So anybody that wants fascism, you've got it. You've got it. It's working right now through the ESG. It worked great through the COVID, and that is where the public-private partnership controls the means of production. That is what fascism is, as quoted by Benito Mussolini in his book, Fascism. Of course, you'd have to go read the book to understand what fascism is, but I don't expect everybody to do that. So, struggle against religion is a struggle for socialism. Under Marxist theories, religion was part of the superstructure, the glue that held society together, upholding the original sin of private property. As famed author and anti-Soviet dissident Alexander Solzhenitsyn said of Marxism, the world had never before known a godlessness as organized, militarized, and tenaciously malevolent as that practiced by Marxism. Within the philosophical system of Marx and Lenin, and at the heart of their psychology, hatred of God is the principal driving force, more fundamental than all their political and economic pretensions. If you have not read Alexander Solzhenitsyn, I would advise you to. That's another good gift. His two books are great. I think there's 3 or 4 actually. But anyway. All right. So with that, we are now finished, folks. I'm going to take some comments and things of that nature at this time and say hello to everybody. So the next study, we will break apart cultural Marxism and how intersectionality works and how it's being pushed in the soft matter of children. Okay. Everybody's aware of it, but how can you speak out against it if you don't know the framework that they're using? This is why the 3 presidents, it doesn't matter if they make all 3 presidents resign, right? What has to die in this country is the DEI. It has to be ripped out by its roots. Okay. It has to be ripped out by its roots. But again, I'm going to tell you, if you haven't read Betty Dowd, who was an intellectual in the 30s and turned on the Communist Party, you should. It's a great book. And she helped put thousands and thousands of preachers in the pulpits pushing the social gospel to get communism in the church. And they've done a wonderful job of it. Done a wonderful job. Okay, so with that, let's say hello to everybody. Flea Market Mutt. DIT, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. I remember that guy. Gumbo Pokey. Darkana. JB. Zach, Teddy C, Lysum, Betty Dodd's book. Can't here. Let me go grab my phone. I've got it saved on my phone. Give me 1 second. I've been reading her book on my phone. Give me 1 second. School of Darkness. I'm on page 75 out of 116 right now. Bella V. Dodd. D-O-D-D. You can find them. You can find it. She's got a couple books, but Bella turned on the Communist Party and exposed her infiltration of the Catholic, the Pentecostal, and all kind of churches, and how they took the communists coming out of the academic world in the 1930s. Listen, folks, that's what people don't realize. The academic world's been captured for about 100 plus years. So, Flat Earth Day. All right, so the tribe, Flea Market, Vicky, a.k.a. Scott's wife, Yellow Hammer. Taylor, hello, Beth. Living in Tongues, hello. The flood put us out to sea. See? No, I don't see it. Well, I can see that analogy. Yes, let me bring that back. Yes, because you're lost at sea. You got to find your foundational rock and come back to it. And of course, that's also allegorized through your wilderness time in the wilderness too. What? For what? For the School of Darkness? I can do that. Bella. PDF. Internet Archive. Copy link addressed. There you go. There's a free book from Bella Dodd. What else we got, guys? Well, I got a few minutes. You know, I should, but I've read so many of them, Mr. Sentinel. I mean, Conflict of Visions, Intellectuals in Society, A Naked Communist, Tragedy and Hope, Zbigniew Brzezinski's books, Alexander Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago. I can't even say that, but Gulag Archipelago. Yeah, I mean, I've read so doggone many books, and this is funny. People ask me what I want for Christmas. I give them books. I want books. I've got the bookshelf behind me, and right to my right is an entire bookshelf. To me, the knowledge that I'm going to turn over to my sons in the books that I have compiled over the years is invaluable, because I imagine if we don't turn this thing around, these things will be worth more than their weight in gold. So I'll answer that. It's actually so the struggle sessions that's happening and everything else by the presidents, we'll see how far it goes. But just like you had 300 of the Harvard faculty write in protection of the Catherine lady, look, she actually put the initiatives in place to get rid of people like Roland Fryer. Let's do that. Roland Fryer, one of the great economists of the modern age, right? And somehow, if you haven't checked this guy out and what they did to him, okay, what they did to him at Harvard, because they went through with the same crap they always do. They pulled up 20, 30-year-old supposed sexual comments that were 20, 30 years old or whatever, but whatever. And when they did the investigation, they found that he hadn't done it, but it was too late. They had already destroyed his talk. And then you have greats like this guy who never get talked about, and that's Thomas Sowell, one of the greatest minds of the 20th century, 21st century. So unless they get the DEI initiatives out and they actually start dismantling everything, we'll see. I have no hope for these academic institutions. As a matter of fact, I would rather see the academic institutions in the United States completely falter and fall. I think they're going to go through the death throes myself. That's my personal opinion. I think they're going to go through the death throes. Yes, well, it's not a correlation. It's not a correlation at all. Woodrow Wilson was a devout student of Hegel. And hated the individuality of, look, there's whole books on this. Here, let me show you this. There's whole books on this that you can read. Yes, there's a direct correlation. We'll go to causation, okay? But you can actually go back to this. It's been known for a very long time that Woodrow Wilson was a proponent of Hegel and was the first communist president of the United States. Yep. Okay, I didn't say dialectics. I didn't say dialectics didn't exist. You got to frame your worldview, right? Go back to the beginning, second slide. What's your worldview? I didn't say there's no opposites. So we moved to getting Cain out of us. We replaced the old with the new. You can't put new wine in old bottles. Gumby. I do too. That's me too. Uh, but when I saw that the School of Darkness was only 116 pages, I went ahead and read it on my phone while I was at work. Um, A Naked Communist is a great book. Um, I mean, it really is. It broke through a bunch of barriers for me. Uh, and I mean, I'm reading Paulo Freire's Critical Pedagogy right now. And I'm not reading that for me to learn anything. I'm reading it to learn how psychotic these people are. I'm not telling you to go get that book. I'm not telling you to do it. Matter of fact, I wouldn't advise anybody to buy it. But I'm doing it for my own ability to be able to see this crap for what it is. And then as a decent teacher, break it down in simple form so everybody can see it. Like everything else in the study group, as I become aware of it, as I become knowledgeable, I try to give it away to somebody else. You can't go wrong with any of the Thomas Sowell books. If you're going to get one, get the Conflict of Visions for your starter pack. Intellectuals in Society, the Thomas Sowell Reader, Discriminations and Disparities. I can't remember, Black Rednecks and White Liberals is another great one. I don't agree with everything Thomas Sowell supposes, but the man bases his beliefs on facts. He's a great statistician. No, A Naked Communist. Here, I'll pull it up for you. Or The Naked Communist, Clean Skousen. Great book, ex-FBI, and spent a long time exposing the communist ideals and the infiltration of the FBI and other things, by the way. Great book. Great book. It breaks down the fundamentals for you. And then you can go out and start seeing it in action, right? I wouldn't doubt that. Have a great night. So, if you don't know, Woodrow Wilson was the proprietor of the creation of the modern administrative state with the intention of bypassing our constitutional law and what most people, I can't say they don't have any arguments about the commercial behavior of the modern administrative state, because that's what they've done. They've conflicted everybody in commerce so they can tax the shit out of all of us, because Congress has the right to impose taxes on duties, imposts, and excises. But it was done in 1913, and then it was fathered through the Green New, FDR's New Society, and then locked in place under what's the book butthole, Lyndon B. Johnson, who did the welfare state. All right. Anybody got anything else? I'm gonna go back to the group. Well, Gavin, I'll answer that, Gavin. It just takes increasing in knowledge and awareness, right? That's it. I mean, I think it was 7-8 years ago when I started reading into the logical fallacies. Not all of them's correct, but red herrings and, the appeal to authority and the appeal to emotion, and then building my worldview, and then getting upon that rock that I do not move from. And once you have a principle base, you can see through this crap. I mean, these people have no meaning and purpose in life, and are being used as human bullets to further an agenda. Hey, look, all shall be revealed. It's being revealed today as they build the Red Guard and they do the replacement theory and everything else. It's real. Sorry, it has been the goal for the last 300 years to destroy what is called Western culture. And the reason for that is because we put in that under God, all men are created equal, endowed from their creator with certain inalienable rights. That's what they hate. Yes, I do. Well, and we'll get into that, Zach, right? Because remember that this is the remember the intersectionality. We're gonna go there. We're gonna go there. Oh, Lyndon B. Johnson did create the welfare state. Yes, Bible Book Club. I do. I really do. I think my daughters would be the first to drop. That's just my personal opinion. I'm hopeful too. Hey, listen, we live in a it's a hard time. It is a hard time. But guess what? So our parents were born into the soft times. That made them soft. They got complacent. We're going through the hard times. Guess what? That's going to make us hard and resilient. Okay? And our children will be resilient. So if we can get through this and be the light that's required from us, we can get out of this. I promise you. None of this crap stands up against scrutiny. Okay? That's why they must destroy the First Amendment and own the marketplace of ideas, because none of their bull crap can stand to any scrutiny whatsoever. All right? All right, folks. I love each and every one of you out there. I hope you enjoyed this. Maybe next week we'll get to phase 2 of it. I imagine it'll end up being a 3 to 4 study lecture. Love each and every one of you out there. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for coming. To everyone who donated yesterday, thank you. We filed the next lawsuit in the tribal court today. I'll keep everybody updated. Take care.